The message came at 3 in the morning, station time. Park was still awake, sitting in her small room on Station Aura 7, reading old Earth novels on her tablet. She liked the quiet hours when most of the station slept. It reminded her of nights back home, when she would stay up late in the foster home, reading under her blanket with a small flashlight. Her communicator beeped, a summons to Captain Sung's office, immediate. Put on her uniform jacket and walked through the empty corridors. The station hummed around her, the sound of machines keeping thousands of beings alive in the cold of space. She passed a window and saw stars stretching forever into the darkness. Even after 2 years here, that view still made her heart feel strange. So big, so quiet, so full of things humans had never imagined. Captain was waiting for her. He was a tall man with gray in his hair and tired eyes. He had been running the Species Integration Division for 15 years, and those years showed on his face. "Sit down, Lieutenant Park," he said. Sat, she noticed a file on his desk, marked with red symbols she recognized as high priority. "I have an assignment," the captain said. "I should tell you now that 6 officers have already refused it. You are not required to accept." Waited, she did not speak. Captain opened the file and turned the screen toward her. 3 small faces appeared. They looked like cats, but not quite. Their fur was silver blue, their ears were tall and pointed, and their eyes glowed amber like small fires. They had tiny claws and long tails. They were beautiful. They were also clearly afraid. In the image, they huddled together in the corner of a metal room, their small bodies pressed close. "Cubs," the captain said. 3 of them. Their parents were killed in a cargo ship accident 4 days ago. No other live on this station. No foster families available in nearby systems. Transport to the nearest colony takes 3 weeks. Looked at the small faces. The smallest one had its eyes closed, pressed against its siblings. "They need a caretaker," she said. It was not a question. "Yes," Captain leaned back in his chair. "But there is a problem. Cubs bond through something called pheromone imprinting. They recognize family by smell, by chemical signals humans cannot produce. Without that bond, they see all other beings as threats." "They are scared," said. "They are dangerous," the captain corrected. "They have attacked every worker who entered their holding room. They have not eaten in 2 days. The medical team says if we cannot get them to eat soon, we will need to sedate them and use feeding tubes." Thought of small bodies held down, tubes pushed into their throats. Her stomach turned. "Why did the others refuse?" she asked. Captain sighed. "Because it is impossible, Lieutenant. Every scientific report says the same thing. None cannot care for young. The cubs will not accept food from strangers. They will not sleep. They will not calm down. They will fight until they hurt themselves or someone else." He paused. "Officer tried yesterday. The largest cub bit through his glove and drew blood. He has requested transfer to another division." Looked at the image again. 3 small creatures alone in a cold metal room surrounded by beings they could not understand. Their parents were dead. Their home was gone. And everyone around them smelled wrong, looked wrong, felt wrong. She knew that feeling. She remembered being 7 years old, standing in a social worker's office after her parents' accident. Strange faces everywhere. Strange smells. Strange voices saying words that did not make sense. She remembered wanting to hide, to fight, to make everyone go away. "I will do it," said. Captain studied her face. "You understand this may not work. You may get hurt. The cubs may still need medical intervention." "I understand. May I ask why you are accepting?" Stood up. "Because someone has to try, Captain, and because being scared does not make them monsters, it makes them children." The captain was quiet for a long moment. Then he nodded and handed her the access card to the quarantine bay. The holding room was in the lower section of the station, away from the main corridors. Walked slowly, carrying a small bag with her tablet, some water, and a blanket from her own bed. She did not bring food. Not yet. First, she needed them to see her as something other than a threat. The door to the holding room had a warning sign in 12 languages. Ignored it. She pressed her access card to the panel and stepped inside. The room was cold and gray. Standard quarantine setup, a water dispenser in one corner, food bowls untouched near the door, and in the far corner 3 pairs of glowing amber eyes. The cubs were awake. They saw her enter, and instantly the largest one moved in front of its siblings. It opened its mouth and hissed. The sound was sharp and filled with fear. Did not move toward them. She did not speak loudly. She simply walked to the opposite corner of the room, sat down on the floor with her back against the wall, and wrapped her blanket around her shoulders. The cubs watched her. The hissing continued for a minute, then 2 minutes. Then it slowed. They were waiting for her to do something. Pulled out her tablet and opened a book. She began to read out loud, her voice soft and steady. It was an old Korean folk tale, one her grandmother used to tell her. The story of a tiger who saved a village, and the brave girl who was not afraid to look him in the eyes. The cubs did not understand the words, but they heard her voice. Calm, gentle, not demanding anything, not reaching for them, not trying to grab or catch or trap. Just a soft sound in a cold room, just a presence that did not hurt. Read for 3 hours. Her voice grew tired, but she kept going. Sometimes she hummed instead of reading. Old songs, lullabies, the kind of sounds that had no meaning except comfort. Around midnight, the smallest cub moved, just a little. It shifted out from behind its siblings and turned one ear toward her. Listening. His heart jumped, but she kept her voice steady. She did not look directly at the cub. She did not reach out. She just kept reading, kept humming, kept being there. When she finally left at 2 in the morning, the cubs had not eaten. They had not come close, but the largest one had stopped hissing. It was not much, but it was a beginning. Outside the door, leaned against the wall and let out a long breath. Her hands were shaking. She had not realized how tense she was. Down the corridor, she saw a figure watching her. Dr. Wu, the station medic. He was tall and thin, with round glasses and a clipboard in his hands. "You were in there for 6 hours, he said. "Yes." "They did not attack you." "No." Doctor wrote something on his clipboard. "Interesting," he said quietly. "Most interesting." Pushed herself off the wall. "I will be back tomorrow," she said. "Same time." She walked back to her room, exhausted but strangely peaceful. 3 small faces stayed in her mind. 3 pairs of amber eyes, slowly learning that not everything in this strange new world wanted to hurt them. It would take time, but had time. And she had something else too, something the reports and the scientists did not understand. She had patience, the kind of patience that came from knowing what it felt like to be small and scared and alone. The kind of patience that said, "I will wait, I will stay, I will not give up on you. Even if you give up on yourself." 3 days passed, came to the holding room every morning and every night. She read stories, she hummed songs. She sat in her corner and did not push, did not rush, did not demand. The cubs watched her, always watching. The largest one, the one privately named, meaning Spring, was always alert. Its amber eyes followed her every movement, waiting for danger. The middle one, meaning Star, was shy. It hid behind its siblings and peeked out only when it thought was not looking. And the smallest, Doll, meaning Moon, was weak. Too weak. It slept most of the time, its small body curled tight against its siblings for warmth. On the 3rd morning, Dr. Wu called to the medical bay. "The smallest one," he said, pointing at a screen showing life readings. "Its body is shutting down. It has not eaten in 5 days. We cannot wait much longer." Stared at the screen. The lines were wrong, she could tell, too low, too slow, a small life fatting away. "How long?" she asked. "Another day, maybe 2. Then we will have no choice but to force-feed it, sedation, tubes, restraints." Doctor took off his glasses and rubbed his eyes. "I have done it before with other species. It is not pleasant, and with cubs, the stress of forced feeding often causes more harm than good. Thought of little doll, already so tired, being held down by strange hands. Machines pushing food into its body while it screamed in fear. Something cold settled in her chest. "Give me one more day," she said. Doctor looked at her for a long moment. "You care about them." "Yes." "Why, they are not your kind. They cannot even understand you." Did not answer right away. She thought about the question. Why did she care? They were aliens, creatures from a world she had never seen. They could not speak her language, could not know her name, could not understand anything she said. But when she looked at them, she did not see aliens. She saw children, scared, hungry, alone, and that was enough. "Because someone should," she finally said. "Because they are small and they are hurting and they have no one else." Doctor put his glasses back on. "One day, Lieutenant. After that, I must follow medical protocol." Nodded and left. That night she came to the holding room with something new, a small heating plate and a bowl. She had requested the standard nutrient paste from the food dispensary, but instead of serving it cold like the instructions said, she heated it. She remembered something from her training about physiology. They came from a warm planet. Their mothers fed them warm food, chewed and heated by their own bodies. The paste in the station bowls was cold, efficient, correct according to nutritional standards, but wrong in every way that mattered. Heated the paste until it was warm, not hot. Then she mashed it with her fingers, breaking up the chunks, making it softer, easier for small mouths. She did not know if it would work. She only knew that the standard way had failed. She sat in her usual corner with the bowl in her lap. The cubs watched her from across the room. Ears were up, alert, hid behind its sibling. Doll barely opened its eyes. Scooped a tiny bit of paste onto her finger. She held it out, not reaching toward them, just offering, and she began to hum. It was a lullaby her grandmother used to sing, an old song about the moon watching over sleeping children. The melody was simple, soft, repeating. Hummed it over and over, her hand steady, her voice gentle. Minutes passed, nothing happened. The cubs did not move. Kept humming. Her arm grew tired, but she did not lower it. She thought about Doll, so small, so weak. She thought about the medical bay, the sedation, the tubes. She refused to let that happen. She refused. More minutes passed. His voice grew rough, but she kept going. The lullaby filled the cold room, the only warm thing in all that gray metal. Then moved. The largest cub took one step forward, then another. Its body was tense, ready to run, but it kept coming, closer, closer, until it was only an arm's length away from its outstretched hand. Stopped humming, she held her breath. Its nose twitched, it smelled the paste, warm, soft, different from the cold food in the bowls by the door. A rough tongue reached out and licked her finger. Its heart almost stopped. She stayed perfectly still. The cub licked again, taking more paste. Its amber eyes never left her face, watching for any sign of danger, but it kept eating. When the paste on her finger was gone, stepped back. It looked at its siblings, then back at. A small sound came from its throat, not a hiss, something softer. Scooped more paste onto her finger and held it out again. This time came faster. It ate without hesitating. When it finished, it sat down near its feet, not touching her but close, closer than any of them had ever been. Watched from across the room, its ears moving with uncertainty, but it did not hiss, it did not growl. Looked at little Doll, still lying weak in the corner. She knew she could not push too fast. Trust was fragile. One wrong move could break everything. But she also knew that Doll did not have much time. She scooped more paste and held it toward. The cub ate again, and again. Each time hummed the lullaby, each time relaxed a little more. After an hour, something changed, turned and walked back to its siblings. It made that soft sound again, and its ears perked up. The two cubs seemed to communicate in a way could not understand. Body language, maybe, or sounds too quiet for human ears. then stood up. The shy cub walked toward slowly, stopping every few steps to look back at, but it kept coming. When it reached her hand, it sniffed the paste for a long moment. Then it ate. Felt tears building in her eyes, but she did not let them fall. She kept humming. She kept holding the food. She kept being patient. Ate 3 portions before retreating, but this time it did not go back to the far corner. It sat next to Nir's feet. 2 cubs watching her without fear, 2 small victories. But Doll still had not moved. Looked at the smallest cub. Its breathing was shallow, its fur looked dull, time was running out. She did something she knew was risky. She stood up slowly, very slowly, and walked toward the corner where Doll lay, and tensed, but they did not attack. They watched, their eyes bright with uncertainty. Knelt down a few feet away from Doll. She scooped warm paste onto her finger and held it close to the small cub's nose. The smell of the food drifted through the air. Doll's eyes opened, just a little, just enough to seize hand. "Please," whispered, "please try." The small cub did not move. Its eyes started to close again. Felt her heart breaking. She was losing. After everything, she was losing. Then walked over. The largest cub moved past and nudged Doll gently with its nose. That soft sound came again, louder this time, an urging, a plea between siblings. Doll's eyes opened again. It looked at, then its outstretched hand. A tiny tongue reached out and touched the paste. Tears finally fell. She did not wipe them away. She just held her hand steady as Doll ate, slowly, weakly, but eating. When the paste was gone, Doll closed its eyes again. But this time it was the sleep of a fed creature, not a dying one. Sat back against the wall, exhausted, curled up near her feet, settled beside its sibling, and little Doll slept, finally, with something in its stomach. Outside the holding room, watching through the observation window, Dr. Wu stood frozen. His clipboard hung forgotten in his hand. He had seen many things in his years as a station medic, but he had never seen anything like this. He typed a message to the Galactic Union Behavioral Science Division. His hands were shaking slightly. The message read, "The human female appears to be using a technique not documented in any species interaction manual. Extended, irrational patience combined with physical vulnerability. She made herself small and unthreatening. She offered without demanding. She waited without forcing. No known species exhibits this behavior with non-bonded predator young. Request permission to document for further study." He looked back through the window. Was still sitting against the wall, 3 small cubs nearby, her eyes closed, her face peaceful. Whatever this human was doing, it was working. And Doctor wanted to understand how. 2 weeks had passed since first entered the holding room. Everything had changed. The cubs ate now. Every meal they waited for to heat their food and hand-feed them. They still would not touch the standard bowls by the door, but they would eat from her fingers, her palms, sometimes even from a small spoon she brought from her own kitchen. Captain Sung moved the cubs from the cold quarantine bay to temporary quarters near his room. It was a bigger space with soft bedding, better lighting, and a window that showed the stars. The cubs explored every corner, sniffing and touching and learning their new home. But the strangest thing, the thing that made everyone on the station talk, was what the cubs did when entered a room. They followed her. It did not matter where she went. If walked to the food dispensary, 3 small shapes trotted behind her. If she sat in the common area to read reports, 3 pairs of amber eyes watched her from nearby chairs. If she spoke to other officers, the cubs would sit at her feet like small guards, their ears alert, their tails curled around their bodies. The station's alien scientists could not explain it. Dr. Wu ran tests on the cubs' pheromone receptors. They worked perfectly. The cubs should not be able to bond with a human. There was no biological reason for their attachment. But biology did not seem to matter. The cubs had chosen and they would not her. Did not understand it either. She only knew that when climbed into her lap, when pressed against her side, when little doll curled up on her feet, she felt something warm in her chest, something she had not felt in a very long time. Family. It was a Thursday evening when the thing happened. The thing that would spread across the station's databases and eventually reach 12 alien worlds. The thing that would change how the galaxy understood humans. Was sitting in her quarters working on duty reports. It was late and she was tired, but the reports were due in the morning. She wore her old university hoodie, the one she had brought from Earth. It was soft and oversized, gray with faded letters on the front. It smelled like home. The cubs were in the room with her. They had their own beds now, soft round cushions that had requested from the supply department. But they rarely used them. They preferred to be near her. Typed on her tablet, her back straight, her mind focused on work. The room was quiet except for the soft hum of the station's systems. Then she felt something. A tiny claw tapped her back. Froze, she did not turn around. She did not move at all. Another tap, higher this time, near her shoulder. Something was climbing her hoodie. Small claws gripped the fabric, pulling upward. Felt the weight shift as a small body climbed her back like a mountain. She held her breath. Appeared over her shoulder. The cub's amber eyes met hers for just a moment. Then it climbed higher, up to the hood of her sweatshirt and dropped down inside. Its hood hung behind her neck, a pocket of soft fabric between her hair and the cotton. Settled into this space, curling into a tight ball. Within seconds, a purring sound filled the air, deep and rhythmic like a tiny motor. Before could process what was happening, she felt more tapping, was climbing next. The shy cub made its way up her back carefully, pausing every few seconds as if checking that this was allowed. When it reached the hood, it squeezed in next to. Two cubs in her hood, two small warm bodies pressed against the back of her neck. Then Doll came. The smallest cub had grown stronger over the past 2 weeks, but it was still smaller than its siblings. It climbed slower, its tiny claws working hard to grip the fabric. When it reached the hood, there was barely any room left, but Doll squeezed in anyway, wiggling and pushing until it found a spot. 3 cubs in her hood, purring against her neck. Sat perfectly still. Her reports were forgotten. Her tablet sat dark on her lap. She did not dare move, did not dare breathe too hard. If she shifted even a little, she might disturb them. She might break this moment. So she stayed. Minutes passed. The purring grew softer as the cubs fell deeper into sleep. Their small bodies were warm against her skin. She could feel their heartbeats, fast and light, slowly calming as they relaxed. 1 hour passed. Her neck started to ache. She ignored it. 2 hours passed. Her legs began to go numb from sitting in the same position. She ignored that too. 3 hours. The dinner bell rang through the station. Stomach growled. She did not move. 4 hours. Her tablet beeped with a reminder about her reports. She did not look at it. The cub slept on, safe and warm, trusting her completely. Sat there until her entire body ached. Her back hurt. Her shoulders were stiff. Her legs had lost all feeling. But she did not move. Not once. Not until the cubs woke on their own, stretched, yawned, and climbed down her back to find their food bowls. Only then did stand up, wincing as blood returned to her legs. She was sore. She had missed dinner, missed her report deadline, and would probably be stiff for days. She did not care. The station's AI had been recording. It recorded everything in personal quarters for safety reasons, unless officers specifically turned it off, had forgotten to turn it off. The video spread through the station's internal network before morning. By afternoon, it had been sent to the Galactic Union's Species Integration Database. By evening, it was being discussed in scientific forums across 4 star systems. The video showed a human female sitting perfectly still for 4 hours while 3 alien predator cubs slept on her. It showed her ignoring her own physical discomfort, her own hunger, her own duties, all because small creatures that were not her species, not her family, not her responsibility had chosen her as their safe place. Comments flooded in from alien scientists across the galaxy. A researcher wrote, "This makes no biological sense. The human gains nothing from this behavior. The cubs are not her offspring. She cannot use them for resources. Why would she sacrifice her own comfort?" A philosopher responded, "Perhaps humans do not calculate value the same way we do. Perhaps comfort is not their highest priority." An elder from the collective added, "We have seen humans risk death for beings not their own. We thought those were unusual cases. Perhaps we were wrong. Perhaps this is simply what humans are." The phrase that stuck, the one that spread furthest, came from an anonymous station worker who watched the video 3 times before commenting. "Humans will hurt themselves to make others feel safe. Even strangers. Even aliens. Even creatures that might grow up to eat them. What kind of species does that?" Dr. Wu added the video to his growing research file. He had started calling it the human nurturing anomaly. It was already 40 pages long, filled with observations and data and things he could not explain. That night he found in the common area, rubbing her sore shoulders while the cubs played with a ball of string nearby. "You sat still for 4 hours," he said. "5 actually," corrected. "The recording stopped early." "Why?" Watched the cubs play, was chasing the string, was hiding behind a chair ready to pounce. Doll was sitting on the string, confused about why it would not move. "They were sleeping," she said simply. "They felt safe. I was not going to take that away from them." Doctor stared at her. In his species, the parents abandoned weak offspring to ensure the strong survived. It was logical, efficient, the way things had always been done. But this human had nearly crippled herself, so 3 orphaned alien cubs could nap comfortably. He did not understand. He suspected he never would. But watching smile as Doll finally caught the string, watching the cubs tumble over each other in a pile of fur and joy, he thought maybe understanding was not the point. Maybe some things just needed to be felt. The ship arrived without warning. Was in the common area, helping Doll practice climbing. The smallest cub had gotten better at using its claws, but it still struggled with heights. Held up a soft cushion as a target, encouraging Doll to jump and grab it. The station alarm rang 3 times. Arrival alert, unknown vessel. Captain Sung's voice came through the speakers. "All senior staff to the command center. Diplomatic ship incoming. This is not a drill." Felt her stomach drop. She picked up Doll and held the cub close, and ran to her legs, pressing against her as if they sensed something wrong. In the command center, stood in the back with the cubs at her feet. Captain and Dr. Wu were at the front, watching the main screen as the ship docked with the station. The ship was beautiful and dangerous, shaped like a silver claw reaching through space. Were known across the galaxy as fierce warriors and skilled hunters. They did not mix with other species often. They kept to themselves, protected their own, and trusted no one outside their bloodlines. The airlock opened and 3 adults walked in. They were tall, much taller than the cubs. Their fur was darker, gray and black, and their amber eyes scanned the room with cold intelligence. They moved like predators, every step controlled and powerful. The leader was a female with silver patterns on her face. She wore ceremonial robes and a badge that marked her as a high-ranking envoy. Her name was, and she looked at the room full of aliens with clear distaste. "I am here for the cubs," she said. Her translator turned her growls into flat words. "The offspring of Saul and 3, they belong with their people." Captain stepped forward. "Envoy, welcome to Station Aura 7. The cubs are safe and healthy. We have been caring for them since the accident." His eyes narrowed. "You cannot care for young, it is not possible. Where are they?" Movement at the back of the room. Had stepped in front of its small body tense, pressed closer to her legs. Doll, still in her arms, buried its face against her chest. Saw them, her expression changed, becoming something hard and unreadable. They cling to a human, she said. This is wrong, this is unnatural, what have you done to them? Felt anger rise in her chest, but she kept her voice calm. I have done nothing except care for them. I fed them when they would not eat. I stayed with them when they were afraid. I gave them time to trust. Trust made a sound that might have been a laugh. Do not trust outsiders. Our cubs bond through blood and pheromone. This human cannot provide either. Whatever bond you think exists is false, a mistake of their young minds. She stepped forward, her eyes fixed on the cubs. I will take them now. A proper family on our colony world will adopt them. They will forget this place. They will forget this human. Within days, they will not even remember her smell. Held Doll, they are not ready for that. They have been through trauma. Moving them again so quickly could hurt them. You do not tell me what is best for children, said coldly. You are prey species, soft, weak. You cannot understand what they need. Captain raised his hand. Envoy, please, let us discuss this properly. The cubs have been in Lieutenant Park's care for 4 weeks. They are healthy, happy, and well-adjusted. Perhaps a gradual transition would be better for everyone. Turned her sharp gaze on him. Galactic law is clear. Species-specific custody takes priority. The cubs they belong with. This is not a negotiation. The room went quiet. Captain looked at with sad eyes. They both knew she was right. The law was the law. The station had no legal ground to refuse. The transfer will happen tomorrow morning, said. Have the cubs ready at Docking Bay 4. Any delay will be reported to the Galactic Union as obstruction. She turned and walked out without looking back. Her 2 guards followed. When they were gone, Doctor moved to his side. I am sorry, he said quietly. I will document everything, the progress, the bonding, the health improvements. Perhaps it will help if you appeal the decision. Shook her head. Appeals take months. She will be gone tomorrow. She looked down at the cubs. Was still standing guard, its small body trembling slightly. Had not moved from her legs. Doll was making soft, scared sounds against her chest. I need to talk to them, said. I need to say goodbye. That night sat in the cubs' quarters with all 3 of them in her lap. They were getting bigger now, and fitting all 3 was uncomfortable, but did not care about comfort anymore. She spoke to them in Korean, knowing they could not understand the words, but hoping they would understand her tone. You are going home tomorrow, she said. You are going to meet your people, real. They will teach you how to hunt and fight and be strong. They will give you a real family, with pheromones and blood bonds and all the things I cannot give you. Looked up at her. Its amber eyes were bright in the dim light. I want you to know that these weeks with you have been the best of my life, continued. Her voice cracked, but she kept going. You came to me scared and hungry, and you trusted me anyway. You chose me when you had no reason to. I will never forget that. Made a small sound and pressed its head against her arm. You are going to be okay, whispered. You are strong, all 3 of you. You survived when everyone said you would not. You can survive this too. Doll reached up with tiny claws and touched her face. Its eyes were wide and confused, as if it could sense something was wrong but did not know what. Pulled all 3 cubs close and let herself cry. Outside the room, watching through the small window in the door, Junior Officer stood in the corridor. She had been on her way to the sleeping quarters when she heard the sound of crying. She did not knock, she did not enter. She just stood there, watching hold the cubs, watching the tears fall. Had worked on Station Aura 7 for 3 years. She had seen officers come and go. She had seen people lose friends, family, lovers to the distances of space. But she had never seen anyone cry over aliens, over creatures that were not even their species. She waited until finally put the cubs to bed, until the lights went out, until the door opened and stepped into the corridor with red eyes and a broken expression. Did not say anything. There were no words for this kind of pain. Instead, she just sat down on the floor, her back against the wall. Looked at her for a moment, then she sat down too. They stayed there together in silence until the artificial sunrise began to glow through the station windows. Sometimes the best thing you can do for someone is just be there, just stay. Understood that, and in her grief was grateful. Tomorrow would come, the cubs would leave, and everything would change. But for now, in the quiet of the corridor, two humans sat together in the dark, and one of them was not alone. Docking Bay 4 was cold, the kind of cold that had nothing to do with temperature. Stood near the center of the bay, holding a standard transport crate in her arms. The cubs were inside, all three of them, pressed together in the small space. They had refused to enter the crate when the station workers tried. They had hissed and clawed and fought until everyone backed away. Only when knelt beside them and asked them gently did they walk inside on their own. Even then, they only stayed calm because she was holding the crate, because they could smell her, because she was still there. The ship loomed at the far end of the bay, its silver hull gleaming under the station lights. The airlock was open. An envoy stood at the entrance with her guards. She wore the same cold expression as before, same ceremonial robes, same absolute certainty that she was right. Around the edges of the bay, station officers had gathered to watch. Captain Sung stood near the control panel, his face carefully neutral. Dr. Wu was beside him, clutching his tablet like a lifeline. Junior officer stood near the back, her hands clenched at her sides. The transfer ceremony was formal, official, by the book. Station documentation had been filed. Galactic Union custody forms had been signed. Everything was legal. Everything was proper. Everything was wrong. Walked toward the ship. Each step felt like walking through water, heavy, slow. The crate in her arms felt heavier with every meter. Inside the crate, the cubs were quiet, too quiet. They knew something was happening. They did not know what, but they could feel it. The tension in its body, the strange smells of the docking bay, the presence of large adults they had never met. Watched approach, her amber eyes showed nothing. Place the container at my feet, she ordered, then step away. Stopped 5 meters from the ship. Her arms were shaking, not from the weight of the crate, but from something deeper. Something that screamed inside her to run, to hide, to take the cubs far away where no one could find them. But she could not. The law was the law, and fighting it would only make things worse. She knelt slowly, placing the crate on the cold floor of the docking bay. Her fingers touched the latch that would open the door. She hesitated. "You can still let them have a transition period," she said, her voice barely steady. "A few more days. Let them get used to you before you take them away." Made that cold sound again, not quite a laugh. They will adapt. Opened the container. Looked at the crate. Through the small mesh window she could see 3 pairs of amber eyes watching her, waiting, trusting. "Go on," she whispered to them. "This is your family now. These are your people. You will be safe with them." She opened the latch. The door swung open. For a moment nothing happened. The cubs stayed inside, huddled together, their eyes moving between and the tall female at the ship entrance. Made a series of sounds. Native language. Calls meant to summon young cubs, sounds that should have triggered their instincts to come to an adult. The largest cub stepped out of the crate first. It stood on the cold floor of the docking bay and looked around. Its ears turned toward, then back to. Then it turned around, climbed up's arm, and settled into her hood. The entire docking bay went silent. Came out next. The shy cub walked straight past without even looking at her. It climbed other arm, slower and more carefully, and squeezed into the hood beside its sibling. Doll was last. The smallest cub limped out of the crate on legs that were still not fully strong. It looked at for one long moment. The envoy made more sounds, calls, commands, pleas in the ancient language of their species. Doll turned away from her and climbed into his hood. 3 cubs in her hood, pressed against her neck, choosing her over their own kind. Stood up slowly, carefully. Her heart was pounding so hard she could hear it in her ears. The cubs purred against her skin, calm and content, as if they had just done the most natural thing in the world. Stared, her amber eyes were wide with something had never seen before in a face. Shock, confusion, something that might have been fear. "This is impossible," the envoy said. Her translator struggled with the emotion in her voice. "Cubs do not choose. They bond through blood, through pheromone, through instinct. They cannot choose an outsider over their own kind." "Maybe they can," said quietly. "This is wrong. This is some human trick, some manipulation we do not understand." Stepped forward, her claws extending. "Give them to me, now." Captain moved between them. "Envoy, I must ask you to calm down. The cubs have made their preference clear. Forcing them now could cause psychological damage. They are children. They do not know what they want." "They seem to know exactly what they want," Doctor said. He had stepped forward too, his tablet recording everything. "They want her." Looked at the cubs in her hood, at the human female who stood there, shaking slightly but not backing down. "What did you do to them?" the envoy demanded. "What human magic is this?" Thought about the question. About all the nights she had sat in that cold room, reading stories. All the mornings she had heated their food and fed them by hand. All the hours she had stayed still, ignoring her own pain, so they could sleep safe in her hood. "I just cared for them," she said. "I was patient. I was kind. I did not give up on them when everyone else said it was impossible." She looked it directly, meeting those cold amber eyes. Maybe that is what they needed. Not blood, not pheromones, not biological programming, just someone who would stay, someone who would not abandon them. The docking bay was silent. No one moved. Then did something unexpected. She took a step back. Her claws retracted. Her body language shifted from aggressive to something else, something almost like respect. "I have lived 200 years," the envoy said slowly. "I have seen many things across many worlds, but I have never seen cubs choose a non, never in all our history." She looked at the cubs again. They were watching her from hood, their small faces peeking out over her shoulders. They did not look scared. They looked happy, content, safe. "Perhaps," said, her voice quieter now, "there are things about bonding that we do not understand. Perhaps blood is not the only path." She turned to Captain. "I will not force the transfer. I cannot take cubs who have chosen another. It goes against our deepest traditions." The captain nodded carefully. "What happens now?" "Now," looked at one more time. "Now I return to my world and report what I have seen. The councils will debate, scholars will study, and perhaps for the first time in history we will need to rewrite our laws." She walked back toward her ship, then paused at the airlock. "Human," she said without turning around, "take care of them. They have chosen you and that choice cannot be undone. You are their family now, whether you understand that or not." The airlock closed. The ship undocked and pulled away from the station, disappearing into the black ocean of space. Stood in the middle of the docking bay, 3 cubs purring in her hood, her body trembling with relief and exhaustion and something that felt like joy. Broke the silence. Did that really just happen? Doctor was typing rapidly on his tablet. "It did. I have it all recorded. This is going to change everything. Everything we know about species bonding, about what it means to be family." Captain walked over too. He put a hand on her shoulder. "Well, Lieutenant," he said with a tired smile, "it seems you have just become a mother." Reached up and felt tiny paws pressing against her neck. 3 small heartbeats, fast and warm, right against her skin. A mother to 3 alien predator cubs, because they chose her. It was impossible. It was unprecedented. It was completely against every scientific understanding of how bonding worked. And it was perfect.